constructor and method overloading. So constructor is the term used for creating the instance of an object. So from the class you can create an object using constructors. So how can I define a constructor? So let me open my Eclipse. So I am creating a new class. So I will change my package to so this is the package that I have defined car.bank and the class name is bank account. So what are the attributes that a bank account can have? Account ID, balance, customer ID. So what are the behavior it can have? Deposit and withdraw. So now I am defining the class. So with some attributes and the behavior. So behaviors are called member functions. So I can do withdraw. So amount to be deposited. So here it is showing the error because it needs a return value. So how we will implement this deposit method? So while depositing, the balance should be increased by the amount that is deposited. So while withdrawing, we should withdraw amount from the balance, and we will return the balance. Here also we will return the balance. So this is the class that I have defined for the bank object. Now I will have a test program. Test bank account. So we need to define main method if we want to execute that program. So Java, whenever you are running the program, it will start from the main method. So if you don't have the main method, you cannot execute that program. So now I will create the bank account object. So the new operator is used for creating the object from a class. So here we have used the constructor. This is called constructor. Use it for creating the object. So we use new operator and the constructor for creating the object. So if you don't define any constructor in your class, by default this constructor is available. But while creating bank account, I wanted to take the minimum amount as deposit. So how can I do that? So here I have created a bank account with zero balance, but I wanted to create a bank account with some amount. So for that I need to create a constructor. So in the constructor is used for initializing the attributes of a class. So I will take the opening amount, so I will initialize the balance with the opening amount. So this is a constructor that I have defined which will take the amount as the input. So the constructor has some specific properties. The constructor should be with the name of the class. So class name and constructor name should be same. So you can define multiple constructors in a class with different input parameters. So in this class I will initialize customer ID, so now If you see the local variable attribute of a class and the variable that is passed to the constructor, both are having same name. So I wanted to assign the value that is passed to the constructor to the value data member of a data attribute of a class. So this statement is giving a warning in Eclipse. So if you compile also, you will get the same warning from the JavaC compiler. So in such cases, we will use the keyword called this. Sorry. So this keyword is used to refer the current object. So we are creating the instance of an object called bank account. So this keyword represents the current objects that is being created. So you can write balance equal to opening. So this is clear. The balance is the attribute of a class and the opening amount is the parameter. So, but here in this case there is an ambiguity between the customer ID attribute of the class and the parameter that is passed to the constructor. So in such cases you can use this keyword for referring the current object. So you can use this keyword for referring the attributes of a class or object. So like this I can define any number of constructors based on the need. So I can initialize the account ID. So the account ID can be random generator number. So for now I just assigned a value 1. It can be passed from outside also. So you can define one more constructor which will take account ID, customer ID and opening amount. So here if you see the constructor has the same name of the class. So but it has multiple constructor with the same name. So this is called a overloading. So the name of the constructor will be same but it will be different based on the input parameters that is passing. So it will be different by number of parameters and the data type of the parameters. So I can have a single argument constructor with a different data type. So both these constructors have the single argument, single parameter, but they differ in the input data type that it is taking. So here it is taking double as input and here it is taking integer as input. Similarly, you can differentiate both the constructor based on the number of parameters also. So here the number of parameters is 1, here the number of parameters is 2. So this is called a constructor overloading. So the name of the function is same, but the parameters are different in number of parameters and data type of the parameters. Now we will go to our test account. So we will create, so as I have created the custom constructors, so the default constructor is not available now. So if you wanted to provide the default constructor also, you should provide, if you do, you can provide the default constructor. So if you don't want user to create bank account object without a opening amount, so then we can stop giving this constructor. So if you don't place this constructor in a class, you cannot create an object without opening amount. So now I will give the customer ID. So the opening amount balance is 10,000. So my account object is created. So with a balance of 10,000. Now I can use the operations. So account dot deposit 1,000 rupees. So here I am able to print the account after deposit. Similarly, I will do withdraw. So system.out.println is used for printing the output to console. So in this program we have created an account with initial balance 10,000. After that we have deposited 1,000 rupees and withdraw 500. Now we will execute this program. So when we deposit, the balance is 11,000. So when we withdraw, the balance is 10,500. So like this you can define the objects and behavior of the object, and you can create the object using constructor and you can use it. So like constructor overloading, we can do method overloading also. So member functions can also be with same name. So now I have defined the one more member function with name deposit with same parameters. It is not accepting, it is showing the error. So I will add one more. I will change the data type of input parameter, so it will accept. So if I increment the number of parameters also, it will accept. So method overriding is having the same name for the member functions for different input parameters or different input data types. So if I don't want to accept the amount as with decimals. Suppose here for this deposit method I can provide the amount with $100 10 cents. Here I cannot take the cents, it will accept only the dollars. So if I pass 100 as input, it will treat it as $100. So but both do with the same. So this deposit method will not accept the cents. This deposit method will accept the cents. So like this. So if you call the method, so you can, while invoking the method, you can invoke. So the deposit you can invoke like this. So like this you can define the method overloading. So there is nothing much to explain on overloading of this. So we wanted to know some of the keywords. So before going to the other concepts of object-oriented programming, so the void keyword. So when you are defining a function or member functions in a class, so it is having a return type as double. So in some cases we might not want to return anything. So in that case, if you don't want to return any value from a function, member function, so you can define the return type as void. So then you need not to return anything from the function. So the void keyword is no data type is, no values, no data type is returned from the member function. Scope of variables. So if you see the attributes, the scope of the attributes that defined at class level are accessible to all the member functions inside the class. But the parameters that you passed to the member functions will be accessible only inside that class, inside the member function. The scope of variable will be within the block that is the variable is defined. So I have defined a anonymous block over here. So I will define a variable here. So I can access the variable over here, but I cannot access the variable outside that block because the scope of the variable is, so it is saying the error x cannot be resolved to a variable, so it doesn't know what is the x. But here it knows the x because we have defined the declared the x. So the scope of the variable x is this block. So the block you defined the variable is the scope. Similarly, the parameters of a method you can access within the member function. You cannot access this value, this parameter inside the other member functions. So it will say the member function is attribute is not defined. So like this, the scope of variables. So the variables that are defined at class level can be accessed in all member functions. So is that clear? So the keyword static. So when you say some variable as static, so that variable will not belongs to the object of a class. It belongs to the class level. So all objects created instantiated from that class will have the same value. Suppose here I will create static string bank name. So this bank name is common to all the objects. It will not be differentiated for each object. So such kind of attributes can be declared as static. So this is same for all the objects. So if you change the value of this from a one object, so it will get changed for the other object also. We will just see the example of that. So normally the static attributes should not be accessed from the object. They can be accessed from the object, but the standard is they should not be accessed from the object. So they can be accessed from the class name. So here the initial value that we have assigned in the class for the bank is the ABC bank. So I have created two objects for that class and I have printed the value of that attribute in that object. So here it's in the meanwhile I changed the bank name to ABCD bank. So it got changed for all the objects. So for all the objects it became ABCD bank. So the static variables that you have defined in a class are common across all the objects. So they are not the attributes of a object, they are the attributes of a class. So you can access the static variables with the name of the class. You can access with the object also, but that is not a standard. So similarly, as static variables, you can have the static functions also. So I will just define a function, change bank name as the static function. So which will take new name as input. So here I did not define the return type. So I will define the return type as void. So for the static attribute name, I have assigned the give value in the static member function. So in a static member function, I cannot use the instance variables. So because this variable cannot exist without an object, because they are the properties of attributes of the object. So you cannot use attributes that are non-static in a static member function, but you can use the static variables in a non-static methods, because this belongs to all the objects. So you can use in a non-static. So when you say static, so the object behavior is gone, so it belongs to class. So same this member function, for calling this member function, I need not create the instance. I can just directly call. So the bank name is changed to XYZ. So here I did not create any instance of the class bank account. It directly accessed with the class name. So static variables are common to all objects. Similarly, static member functions are also common to all objects. So the final keyword. Final keyword is used to define the constants. So a variable name which will never gets changed. So if you define the variable as a final. So now I will define the bank name as final, so that no one can change it. So it is fixed. The bank name is ABC Bank. So once I define the attribute bank name as final, so here it is showing the error because here we are trying to change the value of bank name to a different value. So that's why it is showing the error, because we defined the bank name as final. The final field bank name cannot be assigned. So I have commented this. Similarly here. So once you define a variable as final, so you cannot change the value of it in a program anywhere. So you can define either static or non-static variables, any variables as final. So Java has given some set of library classes which can be used in programming. So all these kind of library classes available in the java.lang package. So if you have to use the class from any other package, you need to import the package. But by default, java.lang package is imported for all the classes so that you can use the classes in the package. So we are using the system class for printing the values to the console. So this is also available as a part of java.lang package. So there are so many other classes available in Java lang package. So here I have given few examples as system class and string class, math class and wrapper classes. So system class is normally used for printing the statements to the console and reading the inputs from the user. So string class is used for defining the names, a sequence of letters wherever you want to use. So we will use the string class for defining the names kind of values. So this is most used class in Java programming. Whenever we define some sequence of characters, we use the string. So some mathematical functions are created inside the math class. Similarly, some wrapper classes. So for all primitive data types that we have discussed, boolean, short, integer, float. So there are the classes available for all these primitive data types. So whenever there is a need to use the primitive data type as an object, you can create the object of type integer. So we are using the system.out.println. The system is the class that is from the java.lang. So you can use this class for printing the values to the console. So out is the inner class inside the system and println is the member function of the out inner class. Or it is a static variable in the system class. Similarly, you can use math dot. So here you are using these methods with the class name, means all these are static methods. So which has this all tan, sine, cos, exponential, rounding, floor, logs, maximum values. So like this you can have many mathematical functions available, so which you can see in calculators. So those functions are exposed using the math class. So here the primitive data type int value. So normally we define integer as int I equal to 1. But in some cases in object oriented programming we might have a need to pass this primitive value as object. So in that case I can wrap the value of I in the object. Now it will become the integer object. So you can use this as any objects like. So it will have its own member functions and behavior. So it can be converted to any other data type. So the wrapper functions can be used for conversion of data types also. So if you define, so if you are reading the value of integer as string. So we need to convert this string to integer. So now you have created integer object from the string. So you will get the integer. So like this, wrapper classes can be used for converting the data type of a value to a different data type also. So here I have converted the value of string to the integer using the integer wrapper class. So like this, you have the wrapper classes for all the primitive types: boolean, float, double, long. For all other data types you have the wrapper classes. So those are the few of the classes that I wanted to cover from Java Lang package.